and welcome to the Collage Colloquium Session 1, which is being held today by the Centre for Fine Print Research in conjunction with the London Centre for Book Arts, who are here with us today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information, and then I will pass over to Simon and Ira at LCBA to say hello to you. And then we will get on with asking some questions to the artists, because I think we've got quite a few questions appearing. So please could you make sure, if you're not presenting, that your microphone is switched off, Daniel. Thank you. And that your video is switched off, because that makes it a much stronger signal. So if you would like to ask a question, please could you use the chat function. So if you look down the bottom of your screen, there's a purple tab with a cross on. If you click on that and then look along to the left, you'll see a speech bubble. So that speech bubble is the chat function, and you can use that to ask questions. If you have a specific question for Jean, can you put an A, capital A on it? And if you have a specific question for Jeremy, could you put a J on it? Otherwise, it's a generic question that we will just ask either of them. So, hello and welcome. And I just want to see, LCBA, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Well, we can't see you, but good to hear you.
So could you give us a little update, because I think you've got some good news to share with everyone about LCBA.
Yeah. So thanks for coming. Those of you that haven't been, or that don't know about LCBA, we are based in London. We are an open access centre for book arts. And since March we have obviously had to close, but we've recently reopened to our members. So in the other room, we've got all of our members working away on all sorts of different print and book projects. So originally the plan was for today we were going to be hosting it, and you would have been here in person, but unfortunately not. But we're still very thrilled to be able to be hosting. So my name's Simon.
And I'm Ira. Well, thanks for coming.
Do you want us to
Three.
I was just going to say that it's really good news, isn't it, that you are opening the studio?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been a very kind of community-driven process, and I don't think we wouldn't have been able to open so soon if it weren't for, well, lucky for us, one of our longtime studio members, Neil Harrison, works for a company that builds basically like the screens that you see everywhere now, the Perspex screens that you see everywhere. So he very generously helped us like design them for our workbenches, and then his company again very generously provided the materials and things for free. So we've been really lucky with that, and we've just been very lucky with everyone really being supportive. And we did a little bit of a kind of, wasn't much of it. We had a lot of kind of help, both kind of encouragement, but also kind of financial help, like from members of the community, like small donations and things like that early on. And then and we've been keeping quite busy doing publishing projects for local charities and things like that while things have been
They haven't really been quiet for us.
It sounds like you've been pretty busy anyway.
We've had a lot. With loads of new exciting editions and things in the pipeline as well. So watch this space.
Yeah, and I think as well, because we've got another session this afternoon, maybe you could use that time, your little hello this afternoon, to tell us about your latest fundraising edition. Yeah?
Yeah, cool.
Definitely.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys to turn your mic off, thank you. And then we're going to start. We hope we've got Jean back. If not, we've got her on the phone.
I'm on the phone. I'm just trying to join
Yeah,
so that you can see me. Can you see me?
Not yet, but there's still hope.
Yeah, I can hear you, so we can communicate.
Okay, well that's good. I think that's a good start, isn't it? So
yeah.
So Jeremy, can you put your video on if you want us to see you? And Jean, you could put your video on if we can see you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do that. Ooh. It's misbehaving a bit.
Everything's misbehaving a bit.
At least we have some audio.
Right, we can see Jeremy.
Good.
I'm just going to see if I can go back into the settings and bring that slide back. Yay. Right, don't click any more buttons with my rule. Right, we've got some questions coming in on the chat. So good morning, everyone. What's our first question? So the first question is for both of you. Advice from both on glue. Apart from Pritt sticks, what about more liquid ones for spreading on large pieces? And what is the best glue when you are using delicate papers?
Right. Shall I go first?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say I use Pritt most of the time. I like how adaptable it is, and also because my collages are quite thin paper anyway. I always put a sheet of or a magazine sheet of paper down first, and then paste the collage on top of that, and that seems to work for pretty thin sheets of paper. Also, I would use spray mount sometimes. I don't like using it, but for very heavy papers, or for, again, very thin paper, sometimes spray mount works for me. But I'm pretty mostly Pritt. That one.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, Pritt's fun, doesn't it? I think we should have asked for sponsorship from Pritt Stick.
Yes.
So Jean, we've got you on.
Brought to you by Pritt.
We've got Jean on the phone.
Hi. Yeah, well, I would go also with what Jeremy says. I use Pritt Stick. I have tried to use other glue sticks, so cheaper ones, but I do find that it works the best. I never use liquid glue because I just find it very messy. And in terms of fragile images, I guess I'm very careful when I use the Pritt Stick, and I tend to use images from magazines. And books, so my source material tends to manage all right with the Pritt.
Thank you, Jean. Right, next question is for Jeremy. Could you share how you store your collage materials? Are they in boxes, files, or chaos?
I suppose I was really impressed by Jean's boxes and of scraps, and Daniel's as well, because I don't really do that. I'm slightly I don't like a little mess, let's put it that way. So I tend to keep the flat sheets of paper that I'm going to use, the images, the sheets I've torn out of magazines or stuff like that. I store them off in folders. I've got them under my bed. But usually I don't keep any of the rest of the material. Part for me, the aim of the collage is to use the material so it's gone, so I don't have to worry about storing it. So that's quite a different approach to Jean's.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jean, I've got a question for you. Do you find one project naturally leads on to the next?
Well, that's an interesting question. One project. I tend to work across different projects, so there's not a sense of kind of linearity, I suppose. As I described in my talk, I have boxes of materials that are all mixed up, and so I might begin a project with an idea of the sequence of this kind of this piece of work, but often I'll get distracted by other bits of materials and then go off and do something else. So there's, in terms of that kind of sequential and developmental thing, it's very tangential, I think, would be the way to describe it.
Thank you. Right, next question. I'm not necessarily asking these in the order they come in. It's the order I can see them on the screen. So if you think I've missed your question, I may come back to that later. We'll try and keep more of a flow. So this is another one asking about marketing. So Jean, I'm going to ask you first, and then I'll go on to Jeremy. So how are you promoting your work to get it out there? So Jean first.
Okay. Yeah, so in terms of the collage pieces I make, I often use Instagram to post pieces when I've made them, just because I like to have that instant share thing. And I will often put my collage work into zines, which enables me to work with sequence and theme and some kind of feeling of connection between the different pieces. So I would print them up into zines and share those on social media. And sometimes they would be published also as e-zines, so they're available in print and e-zines.
Thank you, Jean. Over to you, Jeremy.
I love the question. I think it's really enjoyable to kind of market your work. It's something I never thought I would get into, but actually it's great fun. A lot of my work and my collages, like my little postcards like this, I sell them at book fairs, so obviously that is not going on at the moment, but artist book fairs and other kinds of book fairs are one way. I also use Instagram. One of my trials of lockdown was that my original website provider, they closed down, so I had to get a new website. So I've been setting all up, but what it has mean is much more user friendly. So I've been putting collages up onto my Hazard Press website and selling them individually. So that's kind of a new way that I'm starting to kind of market and sell collages. It's a very interesting aspect to work, and I think Instagram is a really good place to start as well, because you can see what other people are doing. So on Instagram, I've just seen the question come up. I'm at Hazard Press UK.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
Thank you both. I've just got a nice observation rather than a question for both of you. It says Jean, who used that lovely description, shape-shifty, talked about collage collisions, and Jeremy has also talked about the crashed, forced, crumpled together. But Jean mentioned challenging injustice. Jeremy reflects on historic challenges. All of that feels like a healing process through collage, which is emerging or juxtaposition in the collages rather than collisions. So that's a very nice observation there. I've got a next question for you. This is for both of you. So I don't know, Jean, if you want to go first.
Sure.
So how do your collages change, or do they, when they are reproduced in a book and a sequential narrative is set for the viewer or reader?
Oh, wow. That's really, really hard to answer. How do they change, or, sorry, what was the other word there, Sarah?
It's kind of how would they change if when they're put into a book? So you might have a collage that changes as you work through that kind of narrative thread within a book.
Yeah. I suppose that part is where I gave it up to whoever receives it, because to me, they mean something to me when I make them as individual pieces, and then when they're sequenced and put into a book. Particularly, I'm thinking in my case about the book I made with Gordian Project, and they were very involved in sequencing the work and presenting the work within the book. I kind of relinquished control of that, and it was just very interesting to see what they made of the sequence and how they organise the images. So almost that belongs to them, and then there's the viewer's experience then. So there's a change for me, but I know that everyone will experience it in a different way. I don't know what Jeremy's thoughts are on this.
First difference I really notice is the scale. Usually collages have to be reduced to fit into something. And so for me, I find a lot of the detail on my work is lost, and it and especially for collages, it seems to me that they're made at one scale, and it's almost like they should remain at that scale, because the collage is from all these single pieces that are one size, and then they all go together to make another thing that's another size. So when you talk about reproduction and changing it, it can have a real effect on, especially for me as somebody who's created, and how I feel about it. For example, I made these little pamphlets, and these contain collages that I made in the 1990s of, well, scrapbooks really. And so these were probably nearly A3 size, and I reduced them down to A6. And they've become, by making them smaller, they become like more of an image in themselves rather than to be read individually. That's one difference that I found, and I think it's a very interesting thought about how collage is reproduced, really.
Thank you both. Right, next question is again for both of you. So Jean, you're going to have to go first again. So this is for both of you. I know it's difficult when you have large volumes of source material, and I totally understand just filing stuff as you find it. But have you ever tried to organise and group your source material to make it easier to find? I realise this is a very librarian question from someone who is a librarian.
It's not Siobhan, is it?
It is.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so for me, I have tried to group my source materials into thematic bundles or folders, but I just fail. It works for a while, and then everything just gets messed up, and then I realise that I really enjoy those accidental juxtapositions and collisions. So maybe I have a loose sense of where certain things are in certain boxes, but oftentimes I'll go looking for something specific and I'll find something else, and then I'll just be distracted and go along another path. So I think I've come to expect that the grouping and the organising of material and the methodical approach is just not going to work for how I do it.
I suppose I do order mine in certain ways because I have an image or a set of image is a what inspires me to create collage. So I tend to keep those grouped together, and then they would be in like either the kind of 1980s folder or homoerotic folder or like icons folder kind of thing. So I have a rough idea of where things are, and it usually happens whereas I find some new material and I go, oh, that would really work with those images I've got. So yeah, it's not quite cataloguing, but I can probably know roughly where an image is going to be that I'm looking for.
Thank you, Jeremy. I think that kind of leads on to Siobhan's next question, which is also for both of you. Do you ever go back to your work and add to it or change it or cut it up and use it for another collage? Jean, do you want to...
Shall I go?
Sorry, I was just going to say, Jean, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, sure. I do occasionally, yes. There's certain kinds of imagery that I keep returning to. I guess is kind of thinking of it as a kind of personal iconography. So for me, it's images of birds and trees and feet and hands. So I tend to reuse them when I'm looking at zines. So I might reproduce the image of photocopier collage, an original collage piece, and then that might find its way into a zine somehow. It might find its way into a box and collide with something else, and an additional element might be added to it. So I have reused collage images in reproduction, and that photocopying I think is really interesting because it alters the look of it, and it just gives it a different kind of feel, I suppose, and a different kind of life.
Thank you, Jean. Jeremy?
I don't really do that, no. I kind of, when the collage is done, it's done. And I don't really go back and change and alter them. Hi, Sarah, are you back? Jean, are you there?
Hi, Jeremy. It's Jeff Rathermel. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Jeff. Yes, yeah.
I'll fill in with a question.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I was just wondering how your poetry relates with your collage in terms of what are some similarities or differences in terms of that creative process? And I'll turn my mic off now.
Great, thank you. That's a really good question. For me, a lot of collage relates to found poetry in a way. Found poetry is where you would take an existing text, say a magazine article, newspaper article, a letter, something like that, and use that text to form a poem from it, either reproducing the text exactly or just changing it slightly, those kind of things. And those disciplines, I think, really relate to collage. You're working disparate elements, found elements, and I think there's a part of the brain which is very similar for both. And for the next collection that I'm working on, I'm actually developing collages to go with some of the poems. I've got what, I don't know if it's going to show very well on this, but this is a poem about sharing a lift with Bronski Beat in the 1980s. And this is a collage of photos of like me 10 minutes before I shared that lift. So for me, those two elements go together really strongly, and they kind of, and I'm approaching the whole of the collection like that. So it's going to be filled with collage elements, and luckily my editor is quite on board with that. So it's going to look different to normal or other poetry collections, and it's not a coincidence, because as I said, I feel that kind of creative process. There is a big overlap between collage and poetry. Thanks.
Hi, it's Jeff Rathermel again. Sarah, are you back?
Hi.
Sarah, are you back?
I don't think she is.
Okay, well, I'll just hijack this.
Okay, that's brilliant.
I'll just
Thanks, Jeff.
hijack this session here. I'll step in. I think, unfortunately, we probably lost with
Jean as well.
Jean, are you
All right.
with us? I don't think so. So Jeremy,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
just keep asking you
Okay.
questions.
Right,
I saw a
okay.
couple of questions come up. One was, have you ever run into any copyright issues? And another was, someone said that they're just new to collage, and they were wondering if they were, looking for some advice. So, do you want to take on those?
Yes. Yeah, copyright, it's something you have to be aware of. I haven't really run into any copyright issues because I'm not publishing my work in books. They're more one-offs. All the collages I'm going to make for my poetry book are based on images that I already own. So it's something to be aware of, but equally I wouldn't let it put you off from producing something and making your collage. It's just deciding what you're going to do with it. I mean, and if you're going to do a collage of a very famous image and then try and sell that image, then you might run into issues. But for me, the work would come first, and then you see what you're going to do with it. As to getting into collage, I would say it's like one of the most kind of democratic art forms there is. You can get your raw materials together very cheaply. You just need a scalpel, scissors, glue, and just experiment. And the thing about collage is, what I found is, the more you do, the better you get. The more collage you do, the more cutting out you do, working with the fingers, starting to understand the differences in the weights of paper, how much glue to put on one to make it stick so that it doesn't bubble or it doesn't not stick properly. I would I would say have a look at work on Instagram. If you look at the collage hashtag, and don't be afraid just to try stuff. If you like a certain style of collage, then have a go at doing that, and your own work will develop from it. I think collage can be very very personal, very reflective, but also it can just flow sometimes. If you just allow it to flow, don't think too much about what you're doing. And also, I'd say when you're starting off, work on a few collages at a time. And if you feel one isn't working, move on to the next one, and have a whole group that you're working on. And that just reminds me, somebody said about I saw one question about getting bubbles out of collages. So I use a little bone folder here. So I would stick print on one side, lay the collage in place, then I'd flatten it carefully with my fingers and perhaps just a little tissue and rub it in. And then when I'm happy it's in place, I go over it with a bone folder very gently, and that can usually get rid of bubbles. If the bubble's very resistant to change, then you can use a needle and just just go through the bubble and then rub it with the bone folder. So that would be my tip about getting rid of bubbles. Okay.
Sarah, are you there? Okay, it's just the Jeff Rathermel show here.
The J&J.
I like that idea of working on multiple collages at the same time. I think that's really freeing. Also, in your video, you talked about that catalog from the Edinburgh show, which is amazing.
Yes.
So I would highly recommend that as well, just to learn a little bit about the history of collage and then get some inspiration.
Yes.
So Lizzie wrote in a question saying, I love your vertical sliced image mashups. Is this style inspired by any other artists? Would you like to do some research?
Yes, it is actually, and I've got it here. It was through seeing this exhibition, and there's a Czech artist called Juri Kolar, and I don't know if you can see this image here, where they would use multiple images, multiple copies of one image, and then slice them and kind of stretch the image out. And actually just saying that, I suppose I'm inspired by Jean-Paul Goude, who did a lot of work with Grace Jones and her photography and book covers and stuff like that in the 1980s, where he would increase aspects of her body or her face or her neck by adding extra duplicate sections. So that kind of, I like that idea of slicing, and then I just got the idea of, well, you could slice two images together or more than one image, and if you have the slice the same width all the time, then they're all going to fit in together and work as a whole. So that was another inspiration. I suppose the other inspiration was those kind of optic illusions where you'd have two images on a V shape. So they'd be mounted like this. So you would see one image one side, and then you looked at it the other way, you'd see it another side. And I've made a few artist books like that. So for me, that's where those kind of slices are coming from. And I also like it because then you're using like the whole of the image as well, and the cutting out element is pared back just down to the slices. So yeah, that's where those come from.
Okay, great.
Another one, Jeff?
I do. I have another one here. I'm just reading down the list. If other folks have questions, just send them in the chat. Sharon wrote, there seems to be quite a lot of collage used to illustrate magazine newspaper articles. Do you think that this impacts collage as a fine art practice?
I don't think so, really. I think it's, collage has a history, coming from the commercial world, really. And for me, anything that publicizes collage and makes people think, oh, perhaps I could do that. That looks quite interesting. I think that's all to the good. And I also just wanted to come back and say about that point somebody made that Sarah talked about, how Jean was saying about the work being political, and I was saying about crashing things in together, and somebody brought up the point about it being healing. And I hadn't really thought about it before, but it really hit me just when I heard that. I thought, it's really healing. It's kind of enabling you to create your own world in a way, and you can change things. And if your things aren't quite right, then you can change. For example, I'm just looking at the little screen, and it's got one of my collages of the Supremes on there. Now, and in the original photo, it was Diana Ross that's in the middle, and Florence Ballard, who, if you know the history of the Supremes, she had quite a tragic time there. She was pushed out on the end, but by slicing and changing these photos, Florence Ballard is now in the middle of that photo, and you can't actually see Diana Ross's face just because of the slices, and that's not shade on Diana. But for me, that just seems really healing, that Florence is in the middle of a Supremes picture, which is very, very rare. So I like that idea as well. Or did I not say Grace Jones? Did I say somebody else? I've just seen that come up on the notes. So any more questions, Jeff?
I see that LCBA is on. Ira and Simon, do you have any questions to add in here?
Sorry, no, it wasn't a question per se. We were just saying that I've heard from Sarah, and she's been talking to Jean in another room on her own, presumably. Don't know how that happened. They're going to try and reconnect.
Okay.
They were a bit surprised that nobody was asking them any questions.
Oh, I see. Oh, how interesting. Okay, so hopefully they're going to join back.
But still, I think they're just going to try and reconnect. So let's just carry on as we were.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if they want to have their own private chat.
Okay.
Hi, hello, we're back.
Hello. Okay, I'm turning my mic off.
Thank you, Jeff. We have no idea what happened then. So we've all been having a nice chat with Jean, and you've all been having a nice chat with Jeff. So I have no idea what's going on.
Well, you know what that is? We are doing a Zoom, and we're doing a virtual collage.
Right.
There's
different
things going on at the same time.
We're channeling Brian Geisen. We're doing the mashup. We have no idea what happened. We've been chatting away merrily with Jean, and then we keep seeing Jeff pop up. And then we're getting all this stuff in the chat box saying, nice one, so. Well done, Jeff. Good job, Jeff. And we're like,
yeah.
What? Everyone talking to Jeff. We have no idea what's going on. So I'm hoping some people somewhere have been hearing some things, and we've been having two parallel sessions, which is amazing. Anyway, we're back, and thank you very much, Jeff, for hosting in the meantime, especially when Jeff has got up so early in the morning.
Wow.
And is also going to be doing his session after lunch as well. So bless him. So I'm just going to see if there are any questions left in this chat that we haven't asked yet.
Were there other people asking questions in your chat?
Yeah, loads.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I have no idea what.
Oh, okay. Right.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
And because now we've gone into your session, we
Right.
don't have any of the questions that we had in the chat.
Okay.
So if anyone
Right.
listening says, oh, here we go. I'm just going to say, yeah, see if anyone's got any more questions they would like to ask, can they please type them into the chat box, bearing in mind if you haven't had an answer to them yet, because we've been in another room answering questions that were taken into the other chat box. I'm going to start anyway. So I've got one for you, Jean, and one for you, Jeremy, which I would like to know is, who are your collage heroes? Jean, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I really love the work of John Stitziger. I never know how to say it. I love the slices, the very distilled, simple, one cut, and the surreality of his work is just wonderful. I really like kind of distilled, minimal interventions. Yeah, I like his work, and I really like, he's not really a collage artist per se, but the outsider artist Henry Darger used collage in his epic drawings, if anyone knows his work. And I just really loved, well, a couple of things. I loved his obsessiveness and his weirdness and his utter uniqueness of how he made his images, and also the fact that he didn't let, he wasn't very, when he first started working, he wasn't very good at drawing, so he found ways to reproduce images and collage images into his work. So I just love that kind of resourcefulness and just, yeah, the kind of weird, unique, magical disturbingness of his images that is just, are just very compelling.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, you'll go, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, I suppose, you know, Jamie Reed would be like my first kind of memory and of collage and cut up and those kind of things. I also really like Joseph Cornell, a bit like Jean. He's not known so much for collage, but for his boxes, which incorporate a lot of collage elements, and that's an area I'd love to start working myself. And also, she was not as a photographer, but Francesca Woodman did some amazing kind of pseudo collage with her photographs, where she would kind of write on and add different elements. So, yeah, those are the people that kind of inspire me, really.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Jean. I think Jeff's just asked another question. There was a question earlier from someone about publishing books. Do you print them yourself, or do you send them out to a service to get printed? Jean, do you want to answer first?
Sure, yeah, I do both. So some of my, when I'm sort of printing, reproducing my collages and things, I might photocopy some of them depending on what format they are. And others, like I've just made a new zine, which is called Games for Now. I sent that out to a printing service. They're based in the UK, called McEwan, and they do zine printing, and they're really good because you have a lot of choice in terms of papers, weights, sizes. You can go bespoke, and also they're very, very reasonably priced for full colour. So I do a bit of both of them, of photocopying and sending it.
Brilliant. Sorry, Jean, could you repeat the name of the printer?
Yeah, they're called McEwan.
McEwan.
M-I-X-A-M.
McEwan. M-I-X-A-M. That's brilliant. Thank you. Jeremy?
Yeah, I really try and have all everything I need to my books at home because I really like that handmade aspect. The fact that even if they be the same contents, just by making by hand, each one's going to be slightly different. I will sometimes get the pages laser printed just by a local printer who we've got a good relationship with, and then well, like for my little pamphlets like this, these would have been A4 double-sided laser prints, and then I cut them up, bind them together, and number them. So yeah, I suppose I've got a reaction because I have a history in graphic design, and I really disliked the idea that we'd have lots of exhibition catalogues produced and they wouldn't sell, and then within 2 years they'd all go for landfill or to be pulped. So I try and make just as many books as are needed. So usually I won't make a whole edition in one run. I might make 50. When they sell, I make the next 50. So I don't want to have that kind of waste going on.
Thank you, Jeremy. I've got a quick question, or a quick fire question, I would say, for Jean. Which do you prefer, printer or photocopier?
Oh, it depends. It depends on the context. It depends what it is, what kind of zine it is. So for the photocopier, photocopy zines, if I'm working in black and white and using quite a kind of grungy approach, and sometimes I really do love to work in black and white, and I like using photocopiers that, you know, the toner's a bit skew with, but you know, there's accidents in there. I'd go for photocopying, and if I'm looking for something to reproduce some full colour collages, and perhaps in an A5 format that with more pages, I would probably use a printer, a commercial printer, to do those. So and it really depends on the format, whether I'm working in black and white or colour.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, Jeremy, I've got a question for you.
Right.
You talk about in your video about everything is collage and crashing together in the world.
Yeah.
What would your favourite crash together be if you could crash two things together, or two humans together?
Wow, that's quite that's quite an amazing question. Well, one would be Divine, because it would be amazing if they were still alive, and probably Emily Dickinson. So I would collage those two together. I think that would be a very interesting
Amazing.
result. Okay.
Amazing. Okay, what we're going to do is we've run out of actual questions from the audience because they've all been answered or in the parallel universe that you've all been in. I'd like to ask each of you one quick question before we go, which is quite a silly one, but actually quite a fun one. Because obviously a lot of the collage material that you use has come from charity shops or second-hand shops or flea markets. So I'd like to ask each of you, in your dream world, what would be your ideal charity shop find? Jean? I'm going to let Jean answer that one.
Okay, it's just hard to pick one thing. Okay, I'm just going to say like a really, really gigantic box of postcards.
Amazing, yeah. Keep you going for years.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I know. It came into my mind straight away. It would be an entire print run of Smash Hits magazine.
And I think on that note.
Well, actually, think about it. Their layouts are very collagey, so perhaps they were an early a very early influence as well.
It could have been.
Yeah.
All right, just want to say thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking over hosting when we went off into the parallel universe with Jean. We hope that
Jeff was
whatever the
brilliant.
recording is, and he's got to speak again this afternoon. We hope this afternoon we have just one for everyone to come to. Let's hope that we all get back together this afternoon and on in 2 separate rooms. So we look forward to seeing you all again at 2:30 this afternoon. And hopefully we will have Jeff and Daniel with us, or maybe Jeff and Daniel will be there by themselves and we'll be somewhere else with Jean. But thank you, everybody. Thank you to our speakers. That was amazing. And we will catch you all later.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.